Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Tokwe. In today's tutorial, I'll be sewing this milkmaid top. We already have the drafting video of this top. If you are here to see it, I'm going to leave a link in the comment section. So if this is what you are interested in knowing how it is being made, then stick with me. Let's do this together. This is the front part. I already ironed my interfacing on all parts. And so I'm going to be sewing this piece together just like this. And this is the cup part. So I'm going to be running a loose stitch, the kind of stitch you run when you want to make your gathers. And I'm going to run it there too. But this part is the straight part. I'm not going to be running a stitch. I'm going to start from here, then to this end, and then on the straight part. Then I've already run the stitch, then I'm going to be drawing it. But before then, this pattern that we slashed earlier while drafting our pattern, while cutting, I'm going to be bringing all the pieces together from 1 to 6. I'm going to arrange it back together and use a tape to pin them, to tape them together, because I need that cup to be able to measure my cup. After gathering that cup, I will have to measure it here so that it is accurate and I can get the best measurement. There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice. So now I'm going to be drawing the gathers, the stitch. I'm going to draw it together to come together. So I've already drawn the upper part and the lower part. So I'm going to measure it on this pattern cup to make sure that it is accurate. So yeah, it's a bit big, so I'm trying to reduce the length. Then okay, yeah, I've gotten the actual measurement. Then I'm going to be measuring it all around to ensure that it is accurate. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side and also to the lining. You can see that I'm making sure that it is accurate. I'm putting it all around the cup so that I can get the exact measurement. So this is the front part and the one of the cups. So I'm going to be sewing it to the front part. So I'm going to make sure that I start from the curvy area, then all around. I'm going to take it all around the cup and sew it. Now I've already done this, and I've also done the same thing to the lining. So what I'm going to be doing now is to iron the cup part, to iron this front part. I'm going to iron the fabric and the lining. Now you can see I've already done that, and I've opened up that part too to iron it flat. So now I'm going to be placing the lining on the fabric. But before I sew on it, I'm going to bring the cup and make sure that that part is the same measurement. And so I've already confirmed that. Then I'm going to be sewing on it, running a stitch, and then I'm going to flip it to the other side and then top stitch on it. So I already did this. So now next thing is to stitch the lower part. But then you can see that the lining is looking longer than the fabric, so I'm just going to trim off the excess area so that I can have an accurate sewing. So now I'm going to flip it to the wrong side and then run a stitch the lower part. And when I do this, I'm also going to open it up and then top stitch on it so that I will not have the lining flipping out. So the next thing is to do the sides, to stitch the sides. So I'm going to be turning it to the wrong side like this, and then I'm going to be stitching the side all to the armhole area. Then I will have the front part. It's only the front part that we have that is not stitched. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to run a stitch on it on the outside like that. And here I have a band here. The length of the band is the same length as the front, but it's 1 inch longer. And the width of the band is 1.5 inch. So remember that the front part is like a shirt. So I'm going to be putting this band on the front part. So I'm going to flip the top to the wrong side like this. And then you can see the way I'm folding the band. I folded half of an inch on both ends. So I pin it down so that it won't shift. And then I'm going to be flipping it to the right side. So you notice that I placed the band from the wrong side. I stitch it on the wrong side and then I flip it towards the right side. And now it will be covering the right side. Then I'm going to pin it down so that it does not shift. And I'll be running a stitch on it to kind of lay it down. So I'm not going to run the stitch only on this part. I'm going to be running it on all the 4 edges. So but I'm going to be running this part first so that it can first lay. So you can see I've run the stitch on all the 4 edges, and that's what it's looking like on the wrong side and the right side. So this is the other part of the front part. So I've already stitched the upper part and the lower part. So I have these two sides open. So I'm going to be putting a band here too, just like I did to the previous side. It's the same length, the same 1 inch extra, and it's the same width too. And you can see that there's an interfacing on the band. So I'm going to find a way to put the band inside. So I want to make sure that I close the stitch, and I'll also be folding this one inside, but please pay attention to the way I'm folding this in. It's different from how I folded the other parts. So I'm going to fold in this one like this. You can see the way I'm putting half of an inch inside, and then I'm going to run a stitch on it so that it can stay, it can relax. So I might just have to pin it down so that I can be able to successfully run the stitch on it. And I'm not just going to run the stitch on one part, I'm going to be running it on all the 4 sides. And then after running the stitch, I'm going to find a way to place it inside the front part. So you can see I've run the stitch on all the 4 parts. So I'm turning the top now to the wrong side. Then I'm going to put the band inside, and the rough part will be facing this front part that is yet to be closed. You can see the way I place it in. So the rough part is here now. Then I'm going to run a stitch on it, and I'll also be closing the other side, but I'll not close every part. I'm going to leave an opening at the top there, here, so that I can be able to turn it out from there. So I've done that. You can see that's the band out there. You can see that the finishing is very neat, and then I've already top stitched this side where I removed the top from. So now I'm going to be ironing my core part, and I'll be putting my ball under so that it can kind of budge a bit. It will not be too flat. So this is the back part. You remember that the back we cut it on fold. So I'm going to be joining the darts like this. The other part I'm going to be joining both sides. So I've gone ahead to do that, and I've also done that to the lining. So I'm placing the lining on the back, and I'll be stitching it straight like that, the front part and the lower part. And after that, I'm going to run a stitch on both sides. I'm going to flip it to the other side and run a stitch. So I've done that. I've run a stitch on the upper and the lower part. So I have the 2 sides left to fold. So I'm going to turn to the wrong side now and try to close the 2 sides. So I'm going to be running a stitch on both sides, but I'm going to leave an opening at the top here so that I can turn it out from there. So this is the front part. You can see we already have our band for the front on both sides. You can see how neat it looks. And so this is like a shirt. I'm going to placing it on each other like this, and I'm going to pin it down. Then I'll place the back pattern on it, pin every angle too so that it can stay and it should not shift. And then I'll be taking my horizontal measurements. So now I'll be taking my bust measurements first. I'll be dividing my bust measurements into 2. Then I'm going to mark it. Then I have extra 2.5 inches there. So I'm going to be dividing that into 2. So that means I'll be taking 1.25 on both sides. Next is my under bust measurement. I'm going to divide it into 2. I'm going to measure the extra allowance there. I'm going to divide the allowance into 2 and I'm going to take it on both sides. To get my waist measurement, I'm going to put my tape rule at the 6 inches mark. Then to get the actual waist, and then I'm going to be dividing the waist measurement into 2 also. And then I'm going to be measuring what I have left, and what I have, I'm going to divide it into 2, and I'm going to take on both sides. And for the lower part of the top, I'll also be using the waist measurement. Remember that when we were drafting the pattern, I used the waist measurement and I added 1 inch allowance. So now I'm also going to be dividing my waist measurement into 2, and I'll be adding 2 inches allowance now. Then I'm going to measure the excess, and then I'm going to divide it into 2. So I have 2 inches excess, so I've divided that into 2. I have 1 inch, so I'm taking 1 inch on both sides. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect the lines together. So I'm going to go ahead and run a stitch on both sides. So this is the finished look. If you have watched up to this point, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also give your comment. This will really encourage me. So now let's draft the sleeve parts. So the first thing I'll be determining is to determine the length of the sleeve. So I want the sleeve length to be 6 inches, and I'm going to be adding half inches allowance. So I'm going to mark 6.5 inch. Then I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line across this point. And so the next thing I'll be doing is the sleeve is going to have an elastic area. So there's a small part that will look like a fringe or a frills. So I'm going to be marking 1.5 inch from the sleeve length upward, and that will be where my elastic will be. So I'm going to draw a straight line across this. And so the next thing is the sleeve part. I'm going to be pleating it. So now I'm going to determine how wide I want the sleeve to be. So now I'm going to be using 10 inches. So I'm going to mark 10 inches here. And then from the upper part, I'm just going to draw a curve up to this point. So please don't mind my marker. And from this point, I'm going to connect a straight line to the second line. So I'm going to be doing this with my ruler. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut, because this curve part I'm going to be pleating it, so that's why it is this wide. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. So now I'll be placing this on a fabric. I have to, this fabric is on fold, so I'm folding it again. So we now have 4 pieces of the fabric, as you can see, and the place that is on fold, I'll be placing the front part of the pattern there. So you can see I'll just go ahead and cut it like this, but I'm going to leave some allowance at the upper part of this sleeve. So I have 2 sleeves here. What we're doing now is to fold the under part as tiny as possible, so you don't have to use more than half of an inch for this. So I've decided to to fold the 2 parts. So what I'm going to be doing now is to mark where I want my elastic to be. So I'm going to be marking 1.5 inch, but I'm going to be turning it to the wrong side to do that. So I'm going to be marking with my chalk. I'm going to mark 1.5 inch all around and then draw a straight line on it. So this is where I'm going to have my elastic. So for my elastic, I used my round sleeve measurement and I subtracted 1 inch from it. My round sleeve is 11 inches, so I'm using 10 inches for the elastic. So this is it. You can use any elastic that you have. You can use the white one if that is what you have. So I'm going to be taping this sleeve with this band, and this band is going to serve as the strap. So remember that I made my top come down by 6 inches, so that will serve as the strap length. So for the front and the back, that will be 12 inches, and I added 1 inch allowance as the allowance, so making 13 inches. So I'm going to place the strap on it like this. I'm going to make the strap, I'm going to place it on the right side. So I'm going to be pleating the fabric, the sleeve parts, and then after pleating, I'm going to be folding it to the other side, to the right side. So here is this. I already pleated the sleeve to be the length of my strap. I hope you understand that. And now I'm turning it to the other side. So from the wrong side now, I'm going to be folding it to the right side to tape it down. So that's what I will be doing here now. So now just fold it here and then fold it again like 2 times, and then I'm going to make sure that it's on the same line. The front and the back is equal, so that by the time I run the stitch on the front part, it will also be on the back part. So you can see I finished running my stitch. I can see how neat it is. So I'm just going to place it here like this, just like I'm doing with half of an inch, and I'm going to top stitch it there. I'm also going to turn it to the back, place it under with half of an inch, and also top stitch the back. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side too. And so this is the result of the top. You can see it is open like a shirt. So I'm going to put in this hook and eyes That's what I'll be fixing on it. And I'm going to be marking 2 inches interval before fixing it, so on both sides, so that I'll know the actual place to fix the hook. So I've gone ahead to fix it. So I just want to show you how I fix it. So you can see that this hook, the hanging part, is I fix it at the center, and the other part I fix it at the edge. I'm going to show you the other part now, so that by the time I hook it, it's going to close up. And here you can see where I fixed that is at the other edge. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you in my next video. Bye.